It looks like we are ready, hopefully. Mirëmëngjesi të gjithëve, mirë se vini në Prishtinë. Good morning, welcome to Pristina. Dear ministers, dear esteemed delegates, partners, friends, heads of regional organizations, welcome to CEFTA Conference 2025 in Pristina. It's my pleasure to welcome you here. My name is Rina Zanili. I was the coordinator for this year's chairmanship of Kosovo in CEFTA. And to kick off things, I wanted to, first of all, thank all the people who made this possible, especially the CEFTA Secretariat staff, without whom we couldn't have done it, obviously, the European Commission, but also all of our officials who had delivered a lot of work for this year. So thank you very much to everyone. To kick things off, because I want to be very short in my introduction, we have afterwards a moderator, Ms. Gonja Konjuvca, which is going to lead you through the day. And for now, it's my honor to invite the Minister of Industry, Entrepreneurship and Trade, Mrs. Rosetta Haidari. Without her leadership, this would not have been possible this year. Thank you very much, Minister. The floor is yours.
Dear Minister Delina Ibrahimaj from Albania, dear Deputy Minister from North Macedonia, Zoran Dimitrovski, dear Ivona Savicevic, Deputy Minister of Montenegro, dear Valentina Superti, Director from DGNS, dear Amer Kapetanovic, Secretary of RCC, dear Matej Zakončiek, Director of Transport Community, and dear Pranvera Kastrati from CEFTA Secretariat, dear Ambassador Petrit Malaj, and all diplomats from Austria, from Croatia, from Greece, dear all present in this important event. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to CEFTA Week 2025 in Pristina, held under Kosovo's chairmanship. On behalf of Kosovo, we are honored to host this gathering at a moment when our region stands at an important crossroads, facing global uncertainty, yet full of opportunities, but challenged by disruption. Nevertheless, I must say that we are driven by a shared ambition for stability, growth, and integration. This week is more than a series of meetings. It is a space where CEFTA parties, the EU, and the private sector come together to shape a clearer vision for the region's economic future and integration towards the EU single market. Our discussions come at a pivotal time. Geopolitical shifts are reshaping global supply chains. Energy and security considerations are redefining economic alliances, and the demand for resilience has never been stronger. Kosovo's chairmanship has placed strong emphasis on removing barriers that still hinder our businesses, advancing digital and green transition, and strengthening the foundations for deeper value chain of region, but to aim our more integration to a European value chain and global value chain. A more integrated Western Balkan region is not just good for trade, it is essential for attracting investments, creating jobs, and preparing our economies for the challenges and opportunities of tomorrow. This year, we also stand before a historic opening, the EU growth plan and the prospect of gradual access to parts of the EU single market. And this creates a new momentum. CEFTA must serve as the platform that helps all parties align with EU standards by improving their regulatory frameworks accordingly with the EU acquis and build the capacities needed to take full advantage of this transformative opportunity. We have had an active chairmanship in CEFTA during this year, aimed at achieving the successful implementation of CEFTA's adopted decisions, priorities, and new measures for the further development of the agreement, as well as the implementation of CEFTA measures within the Common Regional Market Action Plan. The successful implementation of the measures under Common Regional Market Plan, which is the second pillar of the EU growth plan, aims to foster economic integration within the Western Balkans, and this brings us ever closer to economic integration with the EU single market. In this purpose, I am honored to inform that just yesterday, in CEFTA's Joint Committee meeting, we adopted 4 more important decisions to further facilitate trade in goods and services and ensuring that with the appropriate resources and tools, we support customs administration and the institutions responsible for market surveillance in improving safety, increasing efficiency, and facilitating legitimate trade while minimizing risks. We believe that through practical cooperation, through transparency, and a commitment to shared progress, our region can position itself as a stable, competitive, and reliable partner to the European Union and the wider global market. And CEFTA Week is where many of those practical steps begin. I want to thank all CEFTA parties for their contribution and active participation in implementation of the CEFTA Joint Committee program for 2025, chaired by Kosovo. And we express our appreciation for the messages conveyed by the European Commission regarding the mutual recognition of documents and agreements. Let me also thank the international partners and the business community for the continued support and engagement. Your presence here shows that not only your dedication to regional cooperation, but also your confidence to the potential of our region. On behalf of Kosovo's chairmanship, I wish you a productive and inspiring CEFTA Week 2025. Let us use this week to reflect, to collaborate, and to move forward together with ambition, with realism, and with a shared belief that a more integrated region is a stronger region and closer to EU integration. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Haidari, for those encouraging words and for your leadership during your tenure. Greetings from me also, and now we will be moving on to our next speaker, who brings a vital EU perspective to our gathering. We are pleased to have with us online Ms. Valentina Schuperti, Directorate General for Enlargement and Eastern Neighborhood at the European Commission.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Thank you. And good morning, authorities, ministers, all of you. A pity I couldn't make it to Pristina, but still a pleasure to address you at the start of this CEFTA week, which is actually an important moment and a perfect opportunity to not only review progress, but also strongly reaffirm our shared commitment to the growth plan, as it was mentioned by the minister before, and in particular to its pillar 2, which is about regional market integration as part of the gradual integration process into the EU. So let me start by expressing our heartfelt gratitude to the Kosovo chair for their dedication over the past year and for hosting this event in Pristina. This is very much appreciated. Your efforts have ensured continuity and stability at the time when the common regional market agenda is both demanding and urgent. And we do welcome the work of the chair in the selection of the new CEFTA director, Pranvera. Congratulations. And this is a fresh impetus that we would also like to see reflected in the activities of the organization, progress by decision-making, trust, and implementation of the resulting decisions. CEFTA is a pillar to the implementation of the common regional market. CEFTA's work promotes deeper regional economic cooperation and genuine integration with the aim of attracting investment, which in the end boils down to tangible impact on living standards and business opportunities for the region. And while this past year has been challenging, it is clear that technical groundwork has been laid down in many areas, and actually a good number of deliverables and agreements have been adopted. It was also mentioned before, and I actually, for that, applaud your commitment. However, at the same time, we need now to find ways to continue working on achieving processes without interruptions caused by outside circumstances, because good faith in implementing the Pillar 2 of the growth plan is the only way that eventually can guarantee access to the EU single market. So the potential of CEFTA is very important, but the potential alone is necessary but not sufficient. So what is needed, and is already mentioned, is consistent commitment and mutual trust, so that technical work can proceed and translate into tangible results on the ground. Again, not for the sake of it, but for the benefit to the region's citizens and businesses. I therefore reiterate, we would like to see CEFTA take advantage of the current momentum within the enlargement process to advance also on regional integration. And again, it is about mutual trust and overcoming the bilateral issues that are currently threatening to paralyze the regional organization and overall progress. And we need your shared commitment for that. Looking ahead, we are actually confident that the incoming Albanian chair can offer great assistance in helping the parties steer CEFTA into a continuation of this effort towards a clearer political backing and stronger protection of the technical agenda. And we are looking forward to seeing CEFTA make progress on important priorities. Let me mention some: transportation, digital, but also all the other areas that are essential to align with the European values and boosting the competitiveness of the region. And we wish the incoming chair all the success in building on the platform created this year. Let me quote, for example, the work on the green lanes. I want also here to commend Matej and the transport community. We all together are putting in all the efforts to greatly reduce the waiting time at crossing points. But also let me mention the digital angle, where, as you know, 394 municipalities were selected after the first call for proposals for the Wi-Fi for the Western Balkans initiative. So let me conclude. We remain definitely committed to supporting CEFTA, but we ask you to consider that progress requires joint responsibility and cooperation. And as I was saying, CEFTA is a very important element for further integrating into the European single market. I know that we can count on your full commitment, and this will be the way to achieve together smoother trade, stronger economic ties, and also greater predictability for businesses. And your businesses. So my final message is a message of hope, but not only hope, of underlining our shared commitment for the common good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Schuperti, for your valuable insights and for emphasizing the European Union's commitment to our region. Regional cooperation is at the very heart of the Western Balkans agenda. Next, I would like to invite Amer Kapetanovic, Secretary General of the Regional Cooperation Council, to the podium. Mr. Kapetanovic, welcome.
Good morning to everyone. Ministers, I would like to first start by commending Kosovo for excellent chairmanship of CEFTA. I would like to congratulate my friend Pranvera Castrati for the appointment as the director of CEFTA Secretariat. Definitely CEFTA Secretariat now is in good hands, and I know what I'm talking about. CEFTA Week is not only simply a gathering. As we all know, it reminds us that regional cooperation works best when it is practical, when it is measurable, and when it generates confidence among governments, businesses, and citizens. The common regional market, now embedded, as previous speakers rightly pointed out, in the growth plan of the Western Balkans, is the backbone of this cooperation, where RCC, together with CEFTA, Transport Community, RESPA, all other organizations are working hand in hand to bring about the change, to bring about these tangible results that citizens are expecting from all of us. Today, the region stands on firm ground, I would say, as some results are evident. Last year, foreign direct investments into the region reached 10.4 billion, the highest ever recorded. Intra-regional investment is improving as well. In October, first SEPA transactions were completed in Albania, Montenegro, and North Macedonia, making payment transfers faster, safer, and up to 6 times cheaper. Tourism as an important sector is increased by 23% last year alone. Roam like at home, the old story, as you know, has been established in the Western Balkans. Reduction of roaming prices in between the EU and the Western Balkans brought surcharges down by 99% almost in some cases. Why I'm saying this? Because citizens across the region have recognized this, have recognized our joint investment into this endeavor, thanks to, of course, the very strong support of the European Commission, but very strong commitment of all 6 governments in the region. And according to Balkan Barometer and Securimeter public opinion survey that we conduct every year, 75% of our citizens believe in regional cooperation because it produces concrete results. To turn it into some additional, kind of statistic, almost 8 in 10 citizens support regional cooperation. And of course, EU sentiment is record high on average across the region on 64%. The messages of our Balkan Barometer are clear. Businesses demand stability, predictability, and rule of law. Citizens who trust their institutions are significantly more supportive of regional cooperation. In other words, our citizens and entrepreneurs are telling us, cooperate more, not less, deliver faster, not later. And this was one of the messages, one of the key messages of Berlin Process Summit in London, that actually now it is time not only for joint statement and declarations, but also time for concrete deliverables. And it is very good to know that political commitment is there, but as Valentina rightly pointed out, there are still some things unfinished, some business unfinished that we have to continue dealing with. This year, RCC brought forward concrete deliverables across green finance, sustainable investment, financial literacy, taxonomy alignment, regional tourism branding, digital identity, cybersecurity, and human capital mobility, and delivered a revised green agenda for Western Balkans. These are not abstract accomplishments. They translate into lower transaction costs, better job opportunities, a cleaner environment, faster and more secure digital services, and more predictable climate for investments. In parallel, together, RCC and CEFTA support CRM implementation in 3 concrete ways. First, by turning commitment into operational measures. CEFTA's work on paperless trade, trusted operators, electronic signatures, harmonized custom procedures are all embedded in CRM. These initiatives reduce time, cost, and uncertainty for companies trading across the region. Second, by ensuring coherence across regional organizations, CRM implementation requires synchronization and synchronized actions. CEFTA for goods and trade systems, the transport and energy community for infrastructure and markets, and the RCC for coordination across sectoral alignments. This is why RCC and CEFTA cooperation has intensified, especially in preparing the CRM Action Plan 2025-2028, and in supporting Western Balkan 6 governments with technical guidance. Third, we should also use this opportunity to reflect on how deeper synergies between our regional organizations, primarily RCC and CEFTA, but also, as I said, transport community, energy community, RESPA, Western Balkan 6 Chamber of Commerce, and others, can really move this process forward and bring about the change. That's why on 11th of December, we are hosting in Brussels a regular meeting of coordination of all regional organizations to kind of continue finding the common denominator and to see, to first and foremost, avoid duplications and overlapping, and to have a streamlined and coherent actions forward. Implementation, as I said, requires accountability, and accountability requires measurement. Therefore, this is why RCC, again together with CEFTA, initiated establishment and developing of the CRM monitoring tool, a comprehensive result-oriented data-driven mechanism to track progress on the regional level across all CRM pillars. This tool will provide clear indicators and outcome and impact levels, show where reforms are advancing and where bottlenecks persist, allow RCC and CEFTA, governments, European Commission, donors and partners to track progress in real time, ensure alignment between RCC and CEFTA's deliverables and the EU growth plan reforms agendas. That is, I think, very, very important. This is how we will jointly ensure that the next year's CRM implementation is not only well coordinated, but is also well documented. So, ladies and gentlemen, our citizens and businesses expect results that make their daily lives easier, faster border crossings, recognition of skills, professions, cheaper communications, seamless digital services, equal opportunities, and predictable climate for investment. We remain as RCC, and I'm sure other colleagues as well, to continue working on this endeavor jointly with the strong support of our governments, and I think we will be successful at the end of this journey. So, having said that, I would like to thank you once again for warm hospitality and fruitful meetings today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General, for highlighting the importance of our collective regional efforts. We now turn to one of the critical sectors facilitating regional trade and integration, transport. Please welcome Matej Zakonšek, Director of the Transport Community. Mr. Zakonšek, please join us on stage.
Good morning, dear ministers, deputy ministers, state secretaries, diplomats, dear leaders of the regional organizations, dear friends. It's always great to come to the CEFTA week because it really became such an integral part of our yearly calendar. Every year when we come here, it's December, it's almost the holidays are here, and that means that CEFTA week is here as well. And I was very glad to also this time, when I got the invitation from Pranvera, to come here to address you today. At the same time, the CEFTA week became such an integral part of everything that we do, and CEFTA became such an integral part of everything that we do, that it really became obvious for all of us that we need to be here at this time. You know, yesterday I was actually driving from Belgrade, and CEFTA kindly arranged the transport for me, and it was a car with Albanian license plate, and we were going, it was the evening, to CEFTA week. And we managed to get a bit lost. And, you know, it was dark, the fog was there, and we were going to small roads in south of Serbia. And at one point, the police came, and of course, they were quite, you know, they stopped us, and they, you know, it was us and somebody from behind in a suit, Slovenian, going here, you know, where are you going? And the driver said with all this confidence, well, where are we going? To CEFTA week. So, and he said it with so much confidence that the only thing to do was to continue driving. So that's why we are here today, because CEFTA became so integral part of what we do in the region. At the same time, it really does feel like coming home. And it feels like coming home because transport and trade are such an integral part of it. Transport and trade are not only living under the same roof, but we are really relying to do the same work as one. Because we all know that trade does not move without transport, and of course, transport also relies on trade. With CEFTA, we have one aim, and this is to make the trade and transport so efficient that the only limitations that we have are limitations in our heads. And that's why I think all of the work that you are doing and your administrations are doing on a daily basis is so crucial. Part of these efforts is, of course, to make our border crossings and everything that happens on the borders the most efficient possible. Because when we talk about transport network, we cannot talk about the efficient transport network if we do not have efficient border crossing points. And that's why our work is really going hand in hand. But we don't stop here. We are also looking at how to digitalize the entire freight transport. And that's why this is an important part of the growth plan, as Valentina mentioned already before. And we are working hand in hand to make sure that the region would have a paperless transport, freight transport by 2035. That's our common goal. Part of this is also implementation of the e-freight directive. Another effort here is that we are putting together is Western Balkans Register of Road Undertakings. That is a part of our joint effort to make the transport more transparent, compliant, as well as competitive. Also, this is part of our EU road, this is part of our integration into not only the markets here in the Western Balkans, but also, of course, into European Union markets. Another topic is liberalization of the road market operations. Also something that we are working jointly together on the roadmap, and very shortly we will be able to present it to you. That will really give out the timelines as well as the most important elements of how we reach this liberalization. At the same time, and in the end, green lanes. A lot has been mentioned already on that today, and this work would not be possible without all of you, without the directors of customs, without RCC, and of course, without a strong support by the European Commission. We went from the intra-Western Balkan green lanes, all the times that was already saved during the COVID, a really important element that made sure that our region is thriving. At the same time, we are now pushing toward one-stop shops, which are the most important and the most effective way of reducing the waiting times at the borders. And this is now happening as a matter of principle in the region, and it should continue and should go even further on all border crossings. At the same time, the memorandum of understandings with the neighboring EU member states are becoming a reality. We already signed quite a few of them, and in only 2 weeks, we will conclude another bunch of them, which is really a great signal that this is not only crucial for the region, but equally crucial for the European Union and us in Europe as a continent. And that's why I really welcome this. And again, thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your work when it comes to that. But we went even further. We looked at the busiest border crossings, and together with the European Commission, with CEFTA, with everybody here, we identified what are the most important things that need to happen when it comes to infrastructure improvements, when it comes to harmonization of working hours, when it comes to the, let's say, IT part of it, to make our borders more efficient. I don't think there is any reason why the borders in this beautiful region should not be the most modern, the most efficient, safe and secure in the world. I think we have all the tools necessary to make this happen, including the finances, which is now provided by the European Commission, and it was signed 1 or 2 weeks ago in Tirana during the Leaders' Summit. CEFTA, as it was said before, has now a new leadership. Pranvera, congratulations. Pranvera, congratulations. I think this is a great news. It's a great news for CEFTA, because CEFTA, with that, also it means with this leadership, with Pranvera, that is working for this region for so long already, who knows everybody, with the team that she has and with your support, this is a new momentum. And it's not only a new momentum for CEFTA, it's also a new momentum for enlargement. My message to you, because this will be probably, for sure, the last time that I address you as a director of Transport Community, use this momentum. Use the momentum in order, ride it, use it, grab it, to unblock what is blocked, but you should not stop there, because unblocking should be the easiest part. I know it's not. But it should not be, don't stop there. Go and run with it and bring as many new initiatives as you can in order to make the change that our citizens deserve. Let's really use this momentum for our common aim to see that this beautiful region and these beautiful people living in this region thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zakonczek. The work of the transport community is essential in literally connecting our markets. Our final introductory speaker is a familiar face to all of us who drive the CEFTA agenda daily. I invite Pranvera Castrate, Director of the CEFTA Secretariat, to the podium. Pranvera.
Good morning to everyone. And let me start with a big thank you to all that have been said and to the trust put on me from the CEFTA parties and from everyone. Of course, I know this region very much and I love it, and I do all with good heart and with the aim to bring everyone closer, connected, but also with a very friendly spirit in everything we do. Now, let me start also with my official remarks. Distinguished ministers, excellencies, Honorable Madame Superti, dear Amer, Mate, dear partners, colleagues and friends, Tanya, Maya, thanks a lot to everyone for being here. Allow me to welcome you all on behalf of the CEFTA Secretariat, and I'm very pleased to see so many people coming today in the CEFTA week, which reconfirms that deeper regional economic integration and stronger economic ties among the CEFTA parties is important for everyone. CEFTA week marks a very important moment. It's the conclusion of 1 year with a lot of good results, and congratulations, Madam Minister, for your leadership in this year's chairmanship priorities and work in CEFTA. But at the same time, it set high the standards for the upcoming CEFTA chair in office. I'm very pleased to have here also the new incoming minister and the chair in office, Madame Ibrahimai. And the theme of today's conference, Trading Together Towards Europe, captures a shared ambition of all the region, a collective one, to enhance competitiveness, drive greater convergence with the EU, and advance the gradual integration into the EU single market. At a time of global supply chain disruptions, and with an increasing climate-driven pressure, trade remains a catalyst for sustainable growth. And we believe in this. This is not just a quote. CEFTA has significant transformative potentials, and we heard a lot about this in the opening remarks. But with the rule-based and EU-aligned solutions embedded across all its work, it is helping to build predictability, regulatory clarity for the businesses through faster, cheaper, and simpler trade procedures. Gradual integration, which is already provided the opportunity through the growth plan for the Western Balkans and the growth plan for Moldova, is a golden opportunity that we must not miss. This means benefiting from EU policies and benefits of the single market without being full members to the EU. Guided by the four freedoms, CEFTA work in 2025 directed many achievements, and we have tangible results. And just to mention few, I don't want to bother everyone with all the achievements because this conference will show a lot, but recognition of the AEO programs, bringing predictability for companies, enabling faster and risk-based procedures. Green lanes, so much said by Valentina, by Matej, Amer, and we all know what this is bringing, both intra-CEFTA but also with the EU. And enhanced work on digital cooperation, strengthened work on trade and services, so many more to come, and the list is long. But I'm not going to mention all this because figures and numbers speaks better than us and louder than us, and trade figures speak volumes. Intra-CEFTA trade has extended significantly with increases ranging from 44% to over 70% among the parties. Around 70% of our trade is still with the EU, which already reconfirms the importance, the economic ties we have with the EU, and why we are so much dedicated to work towards this goal and ambition, integration to the EU. Intra-CEFTA exports, as of 2024, increased approximately 121% over a decade, which is a lot. Dear all, CEFTA Week 25 conference is not only a conference where we gather to discuss the present and the future, but is a very important moment to define the milestones, how to shape the future. We are really ready to dive into the discussions in this conference today, and I'm sure that we'll find many answers to what next. Allow me to conclude by expressing sincere appreciations to the CEFTA parties for their dedication and commitment to the CEFTA agenda, to the Chair in Office 25, Madam Minister, for your leadership during this year in making CEFTA a success, to the incoming Chair in Office Albania, Madam Minister, thank you again for being here, and we wish you all the best for next year. And a very special word of thanks goes to the European Commission and the European Union for their unwavering support to the CEFTA agenda and for being with us, also very strong in pronouncing the progress while reminding us of the final goal. Usually, a good manager waits for the end of the conference to help the ones who make possible all this to happen. So allow me to thank my team, CEFTA Secretariat, everyone who did best work, tireless hours, days and nights, to make sure that everything works best. Thank you guys, everyone. And usually, I'm a person that follows the scenario, but you would allow me to, this time, not follow that, and go immediately to the core of the discussion, the high-level panel discussion with the distinguished ministers present here today. So I'm very pleased to invite Madame Rosita Haidari, Minister of Industry, Entrepreneurship, and Trade of Kosovo, to take the podium. Ms. Delina Ibrahimaj, Minister of Economy and Innovation of Albania, the incoming Chair in Office, 26. Mr. Zoran Dimitrovski, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of North Macedonia, and Ivona Savicevic, Director General, Ministry of Economic Development of Montenegro. So thank you very much for being with us today, and also to tell how much this means, not only for the audience, but also for the agenda we have ahead of us. And I think it would be of an interest for everyone participating today in this conference to hear from you on the strategic importance CEFTA plays today, how this helps into bringing more credibility into the enlargement context, but also having in mind that you are leading different CEFTA bodies and concrete results are there. So I would like to start with the chair in office, Madame Rosita Haidari, first. What is your take and your views on the matter?
Thank you very much, Director of CEFTA Secretariat, Ms. Pranvera. Very important questions that I see in this panel, all about the strategic importance of CEFTA today, especially in the context of EU enlargement and global uncertainty, and what political commitments is required to accelerate implementation of the CRM2 and maintain credibility with the EU. I would like to address to the distinguished colleagues, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, all present in this important conference. It is very much a pleasure to address and reflect on fundamental question that I just mentioned with Pranvera. And I must say that in a time when global uncertainty, CEFTA is not only a trade agreement, it is a practical accelerator of European integration, a living framework that prepares our economies, our institutions, and our businesses for the realities of the EU single market. The common regional market, too, is the backbone of this effort, and it is not merely a technical agenda, but it's a political project. And to accelerate its implementation, we need collective political will. The will to harmonize rules even when it requires sensitive reforms, the will to remove barriers even when they appear politically costly, and the will to prioritize regional solutions over narrow national interests. Our credibility with the European Union depends on this, and when we act decisively, we demonstrate that this region can function with a discipline, alignment, and trust to the single market that requires. CEFTA must therefore continue to be a proven platform that delivers not only agreements, but real, measurable facilitation for businesses and consumers. When CEFTA was created, its purpose was straightforward: to remove just barriers to trade among the Western Balkans and the neighboring economies. But over the years, it has evolved into something for more strategic. To date, CEFTA acts as a testing ground for EU-compatible policies. It helps our economies adopt European standards, not in theory, but in practice through shared rules, procedures, and shared commitments. There are many perspectives. I don't know how much minutes I have to speak, but I would like to unfold some of the benefits and impact that has for citizens, for businesses, and so on, CEFTA. As already mentioned, CEFTA strengthens the economy's integration by improving the free movement of goods, service, investments, and people. Every step we take toward eliminating trade barriers, whether through mutual recognition of certificates, streamlined customs procedures, or digital trade facilitation, brings us closer to the regulatory and operational environment of the EU single market. CEFTA economies are learning to operate within rules that mirrors EU legislation, and this reduces transaction costs, shortens accession timelines, and strengthens our credibility as future EU members. Second, CEFTA enhanced trust and cooperation in a region where collaboration has not always been easy. By resolving technical disputes, aligning sectoral standards, and building joint institutions, CEFTA helps us strengthen the culture of dialogue and compromise that lies at the heart of the European project. Integration is not only about laws and markets, it's all about relationships. CEFTA builds these relationships every day. Third, CEFTA empowers businesses, especially SMEs, to integrate into regional and European value chains. As companies operate in a predictable and harmonized regional market, they grow more competitive, more innovative, and more prepared to scale into the EU market. CEFTA helps transform local enterprises into regional exporters and regional exporters into future EU competitors. Fourth, CEFTA supports digital transformation, the foundation of tomorrow's EU integration. Initiatives such as electronic data interchange, paperless trade, and regional e-commerce rules brings our region in line with the EU digital single market principles. Digitalization is not just an efficiency upgrade, it is a bridge that connects our economies to future EU frameworks. And finally, CEFTA contributes to political stability by anchoring our region in European values, open markets, rule of law, transparency, and good governance. These are not abstract concepts, they are daily obligations embedded in the CEFTA framework. By meeting these obligations, our economies demonstrate both readiness and reliability as future EU partners.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. Indeed, it's very important to hear that you see CEFTA not only as a technical catalyst, but also as a political engine towards the EU integration of the process ahead of us. And exactly having this in mind, Madam Minister, and also the credibility of all the processes we do towards the EU integration, what is your take and views on the role CEFTA plays in this regard?
Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure for me to be here, and I want to first of all congratulate Rosetta for the excellent job she has done in chairing the CEFTA for this year. And it will be a real pleasure for me to work together and in order to advance our priorities, which are definitely political and not only technical. And before starting to discuss about how do I see the role of CEFTA, I want to congratulate you, Pranvera, for being here and for taking this job. I know it's a mission for you as well, personally and not only professionally. So it will be a pleasure for me to work alongside with you and to be able to advance our agendas, which definitely converge. And it's a pleasure as well to see RCC and the transport community here, because we all need to be aligned and there's so much happening in the region towards working together, towards integrating, towards removing the barriers. We are working with CEFTA, with the transport community, with RCC. We have all started more or less the growth plan reforms. We're implementing the growth plan reforms. We are being supported by the European Union in this, but in spite of that, we're all progressing towards amending directives, amending laws in order to align with the European Union. So there's so much going on, and if we don't streamline our capacities and our strategies, then there will be a noise, and I don't know how effective we will be into reaching our goals. And by effective, I mean not only effective by ticking boxes of approving strategies and approving regulations and laws, but making them effective and making them useful for the business community, for the people, which of course they are, but they can be better. So, and in order to be more effective, I really do believe that our next year should be focused on a more participative approach towards what we are doing together, both in terms of working more with the business community, understanding more what are the real barriers, because even if we say that we have harmonized this and that, in practice there are small things that may prevent the whole political will to go deeper. So we need to understand what are the real barriers and what are the elements that may really really ease the way of trade and ease the way of businesses toward crossing borders and increase efficiency in our work together. By more collaborative, I also mean being able to work more with the academia, being able to understand more, being able to take decisions based on data. And you said in your speech that 70% of our trade is with the European Union, and we have increased our interregional trade together, but it's still below potential. Our work together, our path towards the European integration and our path towards the European market, it goes through the regional market. It's inevitable. So we need to work better together towards increasing collaboration in terms of economies. And just yesterday, I was part of a meeting in Brussels for the S3 strategy, which all the countries were there. And what I saw is that each and one of us has their own strategy. We have identified where we need to specialize and where we need to focus, but there was no common strategy on where each country have more strengths than the other, and how do we work together in order for us to be more efficient in the way we invest in our people, in the way we invest in our sectors. So I believe that discussions, more regional discussions, need to be done in order to achieve efficiency, because there's only one way towards getting the best from the European market, the regional market. And the discussions, yes, need to be technical, but they need, there will be a strong need for a political push towards reaching the technical agendas, because technical agendas are not for the technical people, they are for the businesses, they are for the our people that may benefit from increased economic performance, increased lower costs. And these discussions have been here. I mean, CEFTA is here from next year, it will be 20 years. So it's a good year to understand better what has functioned, how has functioned, and how can we be faster in delivering results. Another part of collaborative approach is using all the capacities. So not only CEFTA and RCC and transport community and the EU tools towards the same goal, but also the World Bank and other IFIs which are working for increasing economic performance, which are working towards increasing efficiency, increasing productivity. So we need to sit along with all our partners in order to be able to make the most of human resources and make the most of funds available for increasing economic performance of our countries. And we need to focus on not only separate elements with different technical working groups or different secretariats. We all need to work together at a macro level in order to push forward the agendas towards sustainable development, towards understanding how can we foster FDIs, how can we be part of value chains which leave value to the countries and not only engage the workforce, but we need to be smart into attracting FDIs that can deliver progress and efficiency to our economies. So I believe there's a lot to be done. I believe that CEFTA is the right instrument in achieving our common goals, and I'm fully committed to work with you in order to push forward this common political agendas.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Minister. Dear Delina, looking forward to work with you next year. And also thanks for bringing on focus the importance of private sector. And I'm pleased to also have representatives from the private sector here in the conference, making sure that our ambition, vision, and work aligns is very important. And exactly with this in mind, North Macedonia chaired this year, dear Deputy Minister, important CEFTA bodies. And of course, from that perspective and from your perspective, what have been the key achievements of this year under your chairmanship in these bodies, and what are the greatest opportunities that CEFTA offers in this regard?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to this conference. I'm here with actually my colleagues, and I'm coming from Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, because we are, from last year, actually became in charge of foreign trade. So it is a new issue for us as a foreign ministry, but in general, it is about to actually to have more focus on foreign trade, on regional cooperation, and also as a goal towards the European Union integration of Western Balkans. So I would like to remind at the beginning that actually last night, yesterday, we had talks with my colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who were involved from the economic diplomacy, the director, who were involved in the first CEFTA from 1995, and then the second CEFTA from 2006. We have to actually remind everybody that the first CEFTA involved also countries from Central Europe, and that's why it was called CEFTA, Central European Free Trade Agreement. And those were the countries from the Visegrad Group, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, and Hungary. And from that time, in 5 years, there was a big bang of integration, and all of these countries became members of European Union. So CEFTA was pretty much enhancing actually their road to European Union. And I have to say that in the beginning we had a huge push on actually these measures of free trade and other things that CEFTA was doing. And these countries actually became members of European Union, which is one of the goals of uniting of the single market of this region as well. Later on, we had with the new CEFTA of 2006, the countries of Romania and Bulgaria becoming members of European Union, and at last in the 2013, Croatia. And then we haven't seen any enlargement from them. We know that these are the political reasons. There are many political reasons for that, so the good thing is actually that CEFTA survived all of these turmoils and is working on economic cooperation of the region of CEFTA countries, actually the Western Balkan countries now, as they are called, the Western Balkan 6, and also the Moldova. But as far as the CEFTA as an instrument for convergence of this country to the single market and actually the integration into European Union is concerned, I think that I would rather say something much controversial now, that I would wish that CEFTA would cease to exist at the year of 2030, and until then all of the countries of Western Balkans and Moldova, of course Ukraine, will become members of European Union, and they all should be united in the single market of the European Union. And this will be really a success, a great success of CEFTA for all of these 20 or 30 years, if we count the former older CEFTA. And here I would also like to stress that yesterday at the committee was from the European Commission, there was a very good actually points raised, which are dealing with political obstacles to CEFTA goals. and political obstacles actually to common regional market, to establish a common regional market, to establish and to move with all of these countries forward to the European Union path. I would like to stress that these organizations like CEFTA, actually these instruments, are pretty much there in their essence, pretty much connected with the standard of living of people, with the enhancement of their everyday life, with these four freedoms about movement of goods and workers and also the capital, etc. They are very important for the citizens themselves of all of these countries, and for their enhancement of their standard of living. They shouldn't be mixed with politics, which many countries from the region may have to do, actually, the disputes they may have about the status of some of the parties, about the political status, about the geopolitical actually alternatives they may have or whatever. So if they use the instruments of CEFTA, and also there are many other institutions within the that are actually delivering these kind of things to the region, meaning there is the Berlin process, there is now the growth plan, so all having the same goal of integration within the European single market as a first step, as the first gradual step towards integration. This is a good thing that European Union has actually announced that it is willing to gradually integrate all of this region into European Union, and the single market is probably the most valuable one. So, so I think that there is no place for politics in CEFTA. If parties are reasonable, if they're really willing to enhance the life of their citizens and strengthen the economies, attract foreign investment, and everything that goes with it. So, so I think in the next period, actually, it is very important that all of the parties of CEFTA understand this and push this agenda forward. Also, it is very important to mention, actually, that the whole region is lagging behind, if we can say so. We've seen a lot of successes, of course, but it is lagging behind towards the European Union standards, in a sense of, let's say, according to GDP per capita in purchasing power, it is the whole region's convergence to the European Union is around 40%. We must do. This is actually the alarming figure, that we must do much better in our cooperation. Everything was mentioned today, the green lanes, the border crossings, actually the improvement of border crossings, the digitalization of the whole process of trading and stuff. So, but this is probably only the technical stuff. But we must do, as governments in the region, we must have a political will to push the region into the cooperation and into the real integration with the single market. And so we, for instance, in Western Balkans 6, Moldova is also a little bit far away, but they're also in this process. We know how this process worked. We know the single market. Only Albania was not part of former Yugoslavia. Actually, all of these Western Balkan countries were a part of single market, and this is very important to notice, because we know how the single market was working. Whatever we produced in each of our now independent countries, then was sold on the whole Yugoslav market. So it is nothing new for us. The new is the technology. People are there, but we have a lot of, as I've said before, political disputes. And let's turn just 1 minute more, and I wouldn't take much time from you. As far as North Macedonia is concerned, you mentioned that last year we had we've been in charge of 2 committees of CEFTA, which are also very important. I wouldn't go into details because it is more, from technical point of view, actually. But for instance, we also, as a country, have problems and disputes our neighbors in the process of enlargement into the European Union. But it doesn't it doesn't make a problem for us to have a good economic cooperation with these neighbors. For instance, with our neighbor Bulgaria, we just agreed on connectivity so that we are building the tunnel on the border, which will connect 2 countries in the railway. We are building the railway. And this is this is actually the most important issue, to separate the political disputes and the needs of the everyday life for the people. And I think that the whole region should be doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Indeed, it's true, learning from some of the parties who knew what the single market is now in a more open market, but also going to a much bigger market like you would help. And thank you very much for also bringing the perspective of not only politics, but also technical work connected to that, which brings the results. And while making this connection, my dear Ivona, a very old good friend who knows CEFTA from in and out, from the very technical to now more high-level position, but also from the inside CEFTA Secretariat, what would be your very practical take on what CEFTA can do and what is CEFTA role in all this process?
Dear Primera, thank you for your kind words. Dear ministers, deputy ministers, dear representatives of regional organizations, dear partners. It really gives me a great pleasure every time to be a part of the CEFTA week, because it reminds me on the great work while being a national seconded expert in terms of fighting for the region and making us closer to the European single market. So when I saw the topic for this conference, trading together, working together towards Europe, it always reminds me on a daily work of the administration, not only government of Montenegro, but all of our government towards the same shared goals. After 20 years of CEFTA, Montenegro still believes that CEFTA plays strategic, indispensable role in the regional cooperation enhancement, because it gives us a platform to test, implement, and to see European standards even before the membership. While trying to not be, to sound very proud, because Montenegrins are assumed to be very proud, I will just highlight the parallel between our results and deliverables when it comes to the EU accession agenda. And from my point of view, it has a very meaningful and significant connection with every joint committee decision that we adopt. So we are very satisfied and proud when we all agree on the same table about some joint committee decision, very important one, that of course brings benefits to our economies, to our SMEs. So each time we all adopt by consensus every joint committee decision, it's a victory for CEFTA, it's a victory for regional cooperation, and of course it's a victory as a testament of stability and credibility of the region in the eyes of the European Commission. So I really wanted to highlight from the perspective of Montenegro currently negotiating with quite success when it comes to the internal market cluster. So I just want to compare the work that we deliver when it comes to the EU accession process and what we do in CEFTA. Everything we do with the aim that tomorrow the borders of the European Union will be our borders. So everything that is linked to paperless trade, digitalization, and strengthening our administration, it goes hand in hand. During this morning speeches, we heard very important, I would say, key points such as trust, consistency, and credibility. We need to be consistent in deliverables within the CEFTA. We need to have a shared, of course, we have a shared common goal, but we need to act faster, and we need to have more positive stories such as green lanes, such as the free roaming. We need to have it faster, and we need to have it more once we are approaching very fast to the European Union market. Montenegro is currently in the very intense phase of negotiations, and we had very, very strong messages and positive affirmations in the latest report from the European Commission that gives us a strong sense of expectation that in the middle of December we will close 3 chapters within the internal market. One of them is dealing with the establishment of companies, chapter 3, and free movement of services. So there are a lot of questions currently in Montenegro. Okay, you are quite successful currently in the negotiations, but what are you going to do once you enter the European Union? How you are going to prevent the high rate of mobility of professional workers. So there are a lot of questions that administrations on a regional level are currently answering. So I want to send a very strong message that delivering on results within CEFTA and any regional mechanism that we are currently part of, with the strong support and thankfulness to the Commission and every regional partner, such as GIZ, RESPA. Of course, we spoke about the transport and the role of the transport community, while being very proactive and having in mind all the time, okay, we are there, we are part of the European single market, how we are going to make it done. So I strongly believe that we are capable only when we have our hands together and fighting together for the region and for the benefit of the companies of our economies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivona. In fact, to touch upon something that I believe not only us in CEFTA, but everywhere we try to grasp what is next, because we know that some of the parties are advancing in the EU integration process, and that means we all together, irrespectively to the path, we work towards the same objective and goal. And I would like to be same optimistic as the Deputy Minister said, so 2030 CEFTA maybe is not needed, we are all members of EU. But let's work hard for us to make these milestones realistic. And for a moderator, it's very difficult to have, while having such a clear political message from the panel, and also in a way leaving me without questions, because you already capture through your interventions you know, the most important parts. However, also for the sake of political clarity towards the agenda we do, I would like to ask all of you, only in 1 minute if you can, to say 2 or 3 sentences, what would you change if you are told to change something in CEFTA? So you could guide us with that.
I would recommend, and I would say it's rather a must for CEFTA to have a more strengthened principle toward implementation discipline, because many decisions are taken by ministerial level, but not many mechanisms of monitoring, not much external review of CEFTA implementation, CEFTA decisions, the implementation of CEFTA decisions. Therefore, more on implementation discipline and more on monitoring evaluation.
Thank you. Very well said.
I would have said the same thing. So monitoring, collaboration, transparency, less bureaucracy, more result-based. And I totally believe that if there's a will, then there's a way. So more political will.
This is indeed the precondition. Without the political will, we cannot do much. So what would you
Yeah.
tell us?
Actually, yesterday we had a chat about this, and I would stress it because I'm a journalist by profession, and I was actually all my life, and then I went to politics. But what is important for CEFTA, I think, is visibility. Visibility is one of the things that actually people know that countries are cooperating with each other in general, but they don't know much about CEFTA. Although my friend Mate has said that we are going to CEFTA week and everybody knows about that, I'm not quite confident that everybody knows about CEFTA. CEFTA should probably concentrate on this. I'm really disappointed that you didn't agree on appointing the communication officer, but I think that some of your staff will be doing the actually PR activities in future much better. And I think that it is very important for the people in region, but also for European Union itself, because it is up to the people in European Union to decide tomorrow whether these countries will be integrated in the European Union. Some of these countries are going to referendums, as we know. So you should really make an effort for much visibility of CEFTA, what is doing for citizens in the region, what are these benefits of the citizens in the region. So, and also towards the European Union public and European Union audience, to tell them that this region is becoming ready to become a part of the European single market. Thank you.
Thank you. And indeed, communicating the results is what increases the confidence and makes the confidence increase. So we are very keen to do that. So we'll take this into consideration. Very much looking forward towards that. Ivona.
I will be very brief. We all agree that it's a shared responsibility to make it a success. Political stability is a must. And I'm also, once again, comparing to our negotiations with the EU. The operational and technical part should go in line, hand in hand with the political decisions. If I would need to give one recommendation, that would be the need to invest more in the digitalization and online tools while communicating within the region, but tomorrow with the member states. There I mean, for instance, the internal market integration system, because we know that tomorrow we will be in a situation that we will need to communicate faster, to deliver faster, and to respond faster to all the requests of the services providers. So that would be my suggestion for the work of the CEFTA Secretariat. But of course, we all need to be aware that when each of us contributes, we will see results. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I took very good messages from you, starting from more hands-on implementation and result-oriented and evidence-based policy making, communicating the results and communicating the work CEFTA does, and of course, going towards digital with the new technologies, with the new era of digitalization. This is a must. So all these are very good messages for this panel discussion. I'd like to thank you very much for all you shared, the highlights, political and technical, to this panel. And again, as I'm told to follow the scenario, but you don't mind, I don't follow the scenario, we want this moment also to mark the handover of the chairmanship from one chair to another. So I would like to invite the exiting chair, Minister Haidari, dear Rosetta, and the incoming one, dear Delina, Minister of Albania, yes, to make the handover. So this is what I'm the full file. I'm sure you'll be surprised how much you have inside and how much you have to do next year. Thank you. Congrats. Now they know better than me.
No, I just want to thank Ms. Castroti and a huge thank you to the ministers and the deputy minister for that highly engaging and informative discussion. Now we would like to capture this moment. I invite all CEFTA Week participants, delegates and speakers to please join for our official CEFTA Week family photograph. And after that, we welcome you to take a short coffee break, a 15-minute coffee break. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the coffee break, and we are about to begin a fascinating and crucial discussion on the pathways of CEFTA parties' integration into the European Union. This next session is a moderated panel titled Gradual and Functional EU Integration of CEFTA. This panel will explore a practical, step-by-step strategies for aligning with EU policies and benefiting from phased integration, bringing tangible benefits to people and businesses even before full membership. To kick off our discussion and gauge the sentiment in the room, we're going to start with a quick live poll. For you who are present here today, the poll will appear as a QR code, and also the Wi-Fi is public, so you can access it with your phone. And for the participants who are joining us virtually, the poll should be visible on your screen. The question is, how familiar are you with the idea of gradual and functional EU integration through CEFTA and the EU Growth Plan? Please take a moment to cast your vote, and while you do that, let me please introduce you to the moderator of this panel, who is Drita Abdiou Halili, former State Secretary and Deputy Chief Negotiator with the European Union. Ms. Abdiou Halili, I invite you to please take your seat. And please please let me invite the panelists to join the moderator on stage. David Hudson, Senior Expert, Regional Strategy and Investment, DG NS. Tanya Mishchevich, Professor at the Faculty of Political Science at the Belgrade University, who is joining us online. Odeta Barbulushi, Resident Professor at the College of Europe, former Sherpa and Advisor to the Prime Minister on EU Integration and Regional Cooperation. Yeton Zulfai, Sherpa, Prime Minister's Office. And Sanja Prashtalo, Commercial Director at Microelectronica AD, who is with us virtually. Enjoy the discussion and have a fruitful discussion.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our session, Gradual and Functional EU Integration of CEFTA. It's a pleasure to be with you today and to see so many colleagues, friends, partners who I know for sure care deeply about regional cooperation and about bringing real EU benefits to citizens and businesses in the region even before accession. And I'm sure we're going to have a fruitful discussion on the topic, but before we begin our conversation, I would like to invite all of you to participate in the short poll. A QR code should appear very shortly on the screen. Thank you very much. This only relates to what I said in the beginning, that it's a group of colleagues, friends, partners who deeply care about the topic. Nevertheless, we will discuss on the topic. We'll try to deep dive and see different perspectives from different partners and stakeholders. And I would like to start with a question for all my distinguished panelists. I will then invite you for the answers. So with the EU growth plan for the Western Balkans, and I do remember I was working in the beginning or in the birth of the growth plan, new opportunities opened up to bring parts of the EU single market closer even before accession. So it wasn't a zero-sum game anymore. The plan is built around 4 pillars and places the common regional market as a second pillar, making its credible implementation an important condition for deeper access to the EU market and, of course, for additional financial support. Now, from your perspective, what should gradual and functional EU integration of CEFTA region mean in practical terms in this context? And if you would choose or highlight 1 or 2 concrete pathways for phased integration that would actually deliver tangible access before accession benefits for citizens and businesses in the next few years. Could you please give us your views on this? And I would like to start with Mr. David Hudson from the perspective of the Commission. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, congratulations to all those of you who answered number 1. I mean, you get a job working for me, because my answer would have been number 2, to be frank, in terms of what the process is about. Because what we're doing is something that's never really happened before in the context of EU accession. We've never had this possibility of opening up some of the benefits of membership into the pre-accession period. And so we live in a brave new world where things are done differently to the way in which they were done in the past. And a sort of answer to your question, Dorita, is that it's not so much the what in terms of what we need to see, it's the how. Because this brave new world, I mean, I started working in the CEFTA context as the contact point from the Commission back in 2021, so pre-growth plan. And we have a growth plan for the Western Balkans, we have a growth plan for Moldova that opens up this prospect of gradual integration. And before that point, regional economic integration through CEFTA, through the work of the RCC, working towards the common regional market, was essentially a goal in and of itself. Yeah? Regional economic integration, good thing, increasing the size of the market, increasing competitiveness, increased investment, more competition, more goods of a better quality for consumers. We all know the arguments, that's why we're in this room. And it was notionally a stepping stone towards the European Union, or the single market as the subheading of the first CRM action plan, which sounded really nice, but actually didn't have much meaning, beyond the sense of, if we do this on the basis of EU rules and standards, that means we're a bit closer to the European Union. What the growth plans have done is turn that aspiration into a reality, because now you integrate regionally on the basis of EU standards. It opens the possibility to integrate with the EU single market on the basis of those standards. But it also therefore means that because you've changed the end result, we need to see an improvement in the how this is done. And that's sort of the, what's a pathway? For me, the pathway in this is the linkage between the political and the technical. And some of this was alluded to in the previous panel, that we have very high level political commitment. A week ago, yeah, indeed, 10 days ago, in time flies, in Tirana, we had the growth plan leaders meeting. We have the declaration from that. You read the declaration. Everyone is fully on board and completely committed to this path. That's what's said. And then there is, as we hear and as we know, there is a disconnect with the working level. Yeah? And we know this in the CEFTA context, and it's been something that's been going on for a while. The Deputy Minister of North Macedonia mentioned this very clearly in his intervention, that things do not move as quickly as they should for a variety of reasons. And that what we need to do is to ensure that the political commitment at the highest level is, you know, a genuine commitment, and a genuine commitment is a demonstrable commitment that things move faster, that in the context of CEFTA, that the Joint Committee has a politically active role and sets the agenda, so that at the technical level, we can all do our day-to-day work knowing that it's heading in a clear direction and that we have the clear support for what we're doing. Because I see it all too often at subcommittees, at working group levels. Everyone in this room wants to work and make it happen, and somewhere in the system there's a little message or a little bit in the briefing that says, well, actually, no, well, maybe not. It's, you know, not for you to worry about, but just don't find solutions. Don't move forward as quickly as you want to, or just plain say no and because we told you to. And that just can't continue. So I think for me, we need that political trickle down, and that's the process by which gradual integration works. You know, everyone is committed from the highest level to the lowest level to converting the aspiration into a practical change. And I'm sure in the subsequent questions that come along, I'll talk a bit more about my favorite changes, but I'll do that afterwards and I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, David. So I heard turning political will into practical work. I would like to continue with Professor Mishevich, the same question. Dear Tanya, the floor is yours. Good to see you.
Yes, good morning, and it's very good to see you, Dritta, but also David, Odetta, Yeton, of course, Sanya, and to discuss such an important issue that at some point of our life we collide in terms of doing the things on the benefits of our people from the Western Balkans a lot. So basically, I do agree with David. Until the growth plan, it did not become the possibility for the Western Balkan, including, of course, Moldova, to go further with something that actually was not novelty for the region. Let me remind you that back in 2018, for the first time, we started discussing how to include us even more, because even at that time it was very clear that we are very slow in the process of European integration, and that some tangible results, some low-hanging fruit, something that will bring benefits to the common people, if I may call it like this, was needed as the transitional period until the full-fledged membership of Western Balkan 6 into the European Union. That was way before the momentum arose with 2022, the war in Ukraine, and return of the story of the enlargement policy on the table. So it was the idea of even before the common regional market. But let me disagree here with David, because the common regional market worked and became functional as both idea and the action plan, but also the reality, because it had the subtitle stepping stone towards single market. That was always the main goal and the main idea when discussing about the common regional market. We heard this morning also that both CEFTA, RCC are working on, for the first time now, on the plan of how to implement, which means to create the structures which will help implementation of the common regional market, as this common regional market success is needed for the first pillar of the growth plan. That means the accelerated or gradual integration that so many people here or there following the conference know so much about, but still we still have a huge question how to make it possible. Well, of course that we are going to discuss a little bit further on this, but we have a saying here in the region, when there is a will, there is a way. I think that everybody, regardless of the region, have the same saying. Let me remind you of the need for developing some out-of-the-box thinking in the European Commission. And I do have a very good example. This is CEPA. Drita will follow very closely as she worked on this in her home country. There was no prior procedure that EG FISMA had to follow in order to give the preliminary opinion on the inclusion into CEPA. That is actually something that happens only once when the country becomes a full-fledged member. But yet, very fastly, very swiftly, with, of course, a lot of internal problems that they, as a service of the European Commission, faced, because at some point many new countries apply with many questions and the need for the pre-assessment, yet they developed a very good system, method and model, and we can now speak only 1 year, 1.5 years, if I'm not wrong, of 3 from the Western Balkans already participating in CEPA. Some of them are going to participate in full-fledged manner next year, and that is the way. The most approachable way for using the gradual or accelerated integration, of course, is if it is enrolled or enshrined into the stabilization or association agreement, like this exists for the CFTA or in the CFTA. Unfortunately, our SAAs in the Western Balkans do not have that. So for me, to make the long story short, for me, the biggest issue of the gradual integration is actually how to find the legal ground, the legal instrument, which will bring the results in very short period of time in terms of using the benefits of the single market. So I will stop here and looking forward for the further discussion.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Thank you very much. And my question already received 2 hows, how to do it. And thank you for your insights. Of course, we will dive a bit later. I'd like to give the floor to Madame Odeta on the same question. Odeta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Drita. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in Pristina, as always. For me, it's a pleasure to be also part of this conversation, because I've worked with everyone on this panel in different parts of common regional market, but also the broader regional cooperation agenda and EU enlargement. I'd like to extend also my congratulations to Pranvera Castrati for being at the helm of CEFTA in this very important moment, and for also making this week not just efficient in terms of discussions, but also inclusive, by including also us coming now in my new capacity from academia. So let me start perhaps with 2 arguments or 2 observations here. A, that indeed staged integration or gradual integration is not completely new, and at the same time is not a replacement or is not an alternative to EU enlargement. And I'll elaborate on both, because I think it's important in the context of what we are doing here, both from the political and technical aspect of the regional cooperation. What is new now is indeed, I think there are 2 interrelated aspects. One is a reinvigorated enlargement perspective, what was mentioned here by David. And with that, we also have the introduction of a set of new instruments, including growth plan. Now, from a political perspective, and I think that's important, at every level we discuss this, at the level of leaders, policymakers, technical teams, and so on, it's important to understand what this moment means. because what we have seen across the region, with some countries moving faster than others, being, I wouldn't say, okay, using the front runners, but accelerating more with reforms, is this opportunity, the geopolitical moment, of course, the war in Ukraine, what was mentioned by Tanya in 2022, offered. But also this new impetus for accelerating reforms. And for anyone who works on a regional agenda, what we have seen in the past couple of years, few years, is that what has maybe not been done for the past 6 years, the teams, the technical teams, are complying with, are accelerating reforms for the last year, doing more than what has been done for a few years, for the past few years. And I say that not only from the perspective of looking at common regional market and what is happening in the context of CEFTA, but also in connection to what is happening interrelated to this agenda in the context of transport community, in the context of energy agenda, and so on. Countries accelerating because of this opportunity offered. And I think, of course, Montenegro and Albania doing, I think, sort of taking a bigger leap in that respect. Now, the second one is the instrument of growth plan, and here I concur with David. It is new, not in the sense of the drive, the logic, or the aims, but in the sense of the methodology, of bringing these 4 dimensions together. And I stand to be corrected, but I think the main motivation on the part of the EU is how to make these countries do the reforms they were supposed to do a decade ago, 5 years ago, many years ago. So we connect this with a stronger conditionality related to funds. For the region itself, the question, the motivation was, okay, let's leave the reforms aside, but first and foremost was how to get closer to the EU before membership, how to get access to some of the areas of the single market mechanisms program before accession. And this is, and I'll say this, I think for many of you who have been part of this conversation for many years now, this started in fact in Tirana 3 years ago, this conversation with the leaders, with teams starting up, thinking how, we put this request jointly, we submit this request and claim jointly to the EU. And I think in that respect, regional cooperation, I may say, has worked very well in creating this platform, in creating a joint voice, a joint claim that we can speak in one voice, despite our own maybe disagreement, disputes, delays that we may have nationally, to the EU. And I think this is very important. There are 2 or 3 elements of the growth plan which I think are new here, and I think it's worth mentioning in relation to regional cooperation. One is a sense of regional ownership, or ownership of the countries themselves, because the reform agendas were indeed submitted by the countries themselves with a deadline, negotiated with the Commission, but put by them themselves. So that was a commitment they need to comply with. The second is a sense of accountability and a sense of good governance. And good governance not only related to reform agenda, but also in the sense of these countries having to build the structures, the administrative capacities, not just to prepare the growth plan and coordinate interinstitutionally, but also to implement it. And if we look at the 6 countries for the moment, now there are different levels of preparation and different levels of progress in that. And I think that tells us a lot about the administrative capacities internally. And I think that's also a litmus test for the administrative capacities in relation to EU accession. I think we come back to that maybe in the second part of the discussion. I think there are 2 questions related to this new momentum now. How to upscale from the second dimension of growth plan, which is common regional market, CRM, to the first dimension, the 7 priority areas, which are in a way identified as entry points for these countries into the single market. Now, for some of these policy areas, we had the discussion in the morning, like trade, maybe trade and transport facilitation, digitalization. We have seen progress. We have seen significant progress. We mentioned SEPA here, but of course, and again, in connection to what Tanya was saying, that there is no legal basis, there was no regulatory basis for maybe SEPA. There wasn't such a thing even for roaming agreement before that, 2019, and still we made progress. So how to upscale now into other areas where it doesn't seem very obvious, A, that we have made progress, and B, it's not very obvious that there is political will on the part of the EU. David will forgive me for saying that, like labor, for example. You have very different approaches in EU member states about labor and mobility. Or industrial value chains. I know there has been a very good, important discussion and some commitments taken in the growth plan summit of leaders 10 days ago in Tirana about this. But it's very important to look at it technically, how much these countries have the capacities to do that, and what are the instruments between the EU and the candidate countries to actually boost this policy area, and so on and so forth. So the first one is upscaling. The second one, I think the second dilemma was mentioned here by the Albanian Minister of Economy, Ms. Ibrahimaj, how to streamline. And streamlining, I think it includes a number of questions or dilemmas here to answer. In terms of monitoring, I think it's very commendable what RCC has proposed in terms of a monitoring mechanism for CRM, but we need to have a joint monitoring mechanism for both CRM and first dimension of the growth plan. So we look at these two dimensions in tandem with each other, not as separate agendas. And also streamlining includes who works on these agendas. I mean, we know we've had this discussion with our colleagues, even last night and also this morning. It was mentioned in terms of people who work on the agenda of growth plan, people who work on the agenda of bilateral accession agenda, work on CRM, and in most cases, in most of our countries, it might be the same people or the same person even. So that is something that we need, I think, to look at, and how, you know, to work closer with member states, with the EU Commission to boost these capacities. So I'll leave it there for this part of the conversation. Happy to continue.
Thank you very much, Odeta. You already started to deep dive into the next question, but we still are in the first question. I would like to give the floor, without further ado, to Mr. Yeton Zulfay on his views.
Thank you, Drita. Thank you. And I share the views of the panelists. I think that to make sense of where we're going, we also need to know where we are. And if we started with regional cooperation, you know, as a first step, we need it, and we need to cooperate with each other in the region. And then from cooperation to regional integration, and I think that's how we arrived to common regional market 5 years ago. From regional integration now to gradual integration with growth plan, and then hopefully integration, you know, at the end. But the question is, have we moved from each phase while fulfilling and achieving some level of maturity in each phase? And I think partly why we are so behind is because the first phase, you know, regional cooperation, you know, has some difficulties still to be more direct. And I think that is the pace of our progress, despite the structural reforms that are needed, whether in economy and democracy, because this is not just about trade and just about the single market. You know, the end goal, integration, is about transformation of our societies into a well-functioning democracy that aspires to join the European Union. And I think that's a long way, but what we are doing regionally should prepare us for that. And not just prepare us, but should move us faster. And I think that's the goal, and that is how we view, at least that's how I view gradual integration. It should move us faster towards membership. But that's not still the case because the progress is very slow. You know, in Bled Strategic Forum, you had former head of Council of European Council, Charles Michel, saying, 2030, everyone should be within the European Union. It was a statement. And it's just 5 years away. And we are still, for these 5 years, we have not been implementing some of basic agreements regionally. And so that's a very slow pace. Not to be pessimistic about that, but I think because of this first phase, regional cooperation, it is that we still lacking progress. I think that what the region wants is simple now in terms of trade, And so with regard to gradual integration, I think some areas deserve more attention, and that is we are focused now on the free movement of goods. We need investments. The region needs investments. And to invest, the goods need to move between us and EU, which is our largest trading partner. They need to move freely. And what CEFTA does now with growth plan and CRM, because much of the deliverables related to the CRM also are within CEFTA, is to ensure that all these conformity assessment, all these certificates, and all these quality qualifications, the region meets them, and so that in the end it facilitates the movement of goods from EU, but also the movements of goods from the region to the EU, which in turn we hope would bring here EU investors, EU companies, so that more goods are produced here. And I think that's a key part. Digital area is also a key part now with this AI revolution. We should not be left behind. And road and transport, so both railways and highways, this is what is needed. We have the Green Lane Initiative, but we must have not just political will, but also we should be settled with this strategic choice, because once we have committed to EU and we say that we want to become members of EU, that is a strategic choice. So the rest should be following the rules of the road, so it should be that simple, but unfortunately I think largely because we are still in this regional cooperation problem still, that we are lacking behind. But I think that we could engage more, and with EU defining the rules and being more direct, we could move much faster. Because once you make the choice to join the EU, it should be the EU showing the way forward.
Thank you very much, Yeton. Obviously, the topic is quite interesting and with a high interest, so we already are deep diving. I would like to give the floor to Madam Sanja Praštalo, so to have a perspective from another sector on this topic. So please, Sanja, the floor is yours for a short view on the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Drita, and good morning to everyone. I am not only proud but very happy that we are giving voice in panels like this one. I do come from a different sector, so I have to apologize in advance for probably not knowing enough about the topic. I'm not one of those who answered the first good level of knowledge about all of this. I have become and I have started learning through these panels and participation in events like this one. But I will try to put a different perspective to the topic from the level of industry. Let's call it a low level of this regional and gradual integration, how we speak about it. From the point of free movement of goods, we are constantly talking about it, and it is something that we need to discuss, but nobody has recently been talking to us from the industrial level in order to move goods to European Union, you have to follow up so many rules, so many standards of quality, and in the last couple of years, due to these regional and global changes in geopolitical aspects, these rules have changed even more. The levels of quality and security are rising very high, so Europe is basically closing their doors to most of the goods. And we are not ready. We have to ask ourselves, are we ready for this free movement of goods? It has to be in two ways, not only from European Union to us, but also from us to European Union. And there are several aspects of how you can actually sell your goods to European Union. One is the high levels of quality. The others are references. So it was already addressed a moment ago that we need to enhance our regional cooperation. It's not on a very good level now. And we need to work on that, because only by having a joint market in Western Balkan we can somewhat reach the levels of references needed for European Union. On the other aspect is the standards. So I have talked about it quite a lot before, but I wish to address it now again. Now, we are not getting the support from our political authorities. We're not getting support. We're not even getting enough information on what road plan actually can bring us on our level, on the industrial level, in production of goods and services. So what I would like to emphasize now is that we would like more dialogue. So I'm now starting to learn how much work is being done on the political level, and it's something that we cannot even comprehend from our perspective. But I wish that we would open a dialogue so that we from the real sector would know more about what is being done in CEFTA, in ministries, on political levels. And on the other hand, I wish you would know a bit more about what is being done on our level. We are doing a lot of work, a lot of investments, all done by ourselves. So what we are really in need of is to learn more about the financial support that is obviously available through the growth plan. Is it going to be available for us? Technical support as well. We are learning all by ourselves. I will share one information that I've gotten like this year. I had the opportunity to participate in the Parliament of Enterprises in Brussels. So I have learned that even in the level of European Union, most of the countries are now implementing some additional laws how to protect themselves. I will share an example of Germany from our industry. They have their own national security agency. In the smart metering, where a lot of standards are implemented on the level of European Union, and we have several producers here in Western Balkan, we have all implemented all European requirements. And now we are seeing closed doors in specific countries, such as countries of Scandinavia, countries as important as Germany. They are now creating their own laws, and we are not able to learn about that unless we investigate by ourselves. And you can imagine how expensive and how difficult it is for the actual representatives of businesses to actually access this information. So what I would emphasize is a better dialogue between CEFTA, politics, and industry. I believe it's enough from me for this first question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Sanja. That was very concise and also very interesting to hear as the perspective of those that have to apply this rules after, let's say, that the political commitment is translated to a technical work that works. Having said that, David, maybe you did not go very deep into the details, and I do remember how the growth plan was described and enthusiasm at the beginning. Now that the real work started, hopefully, and should already roll from your point of view. But as a concrete suggestion, what are, let's say, 2-3 very practical measures in the Common Regional Market Action Plan that CEFTA parties should put it as a priority so that businesses, but also citizens, can actually feel in practice access before accession? We just also heard some obstacles and hurdles, maybe not directly here connected, but as lack of let's say, information dialogue, so on and so forth. David, the floor is yours.
I thank you, Drita. This time I promise I'll try and answer your question. Which 2 or 3 measures? It's a bit like trying to choose your favorite child, except there's 120 measures in the Common Regional Market Action, and as far as I'm aware, I don't have 120 children. Hopefully. I think, as you said, there's a balance to be struck in terms of if you're looking at things and their impact, the necessity to reach out to business, but also to be able to appeal to consumers so that they understand, because ultimately this is a process which has a political basis and therefore needs a strong position of citizens and also companies to say, this is a good thing, it works, you the politicians need to make it happen more. Yeah? Because we need that groundswell of opinion. So 2 or 3 things. I think green lanes, and because this is an essential, obviously an essential element, and no customs, no green lanes. And I'm not simply saying that because there's lots of customs officials here today, but because it's at the very heart of it, and therefore the work that CEFTA have done on this is at the very heart of the green lanes, because without that you get the classic 10, 12, 14-hour queues at crossing points between the region and the European Union. Things just simply don't work. Businesses will not invest in the Western Balkans if, as part of supply chains, if the components produced here can't make it to the factories in Germany or Italy, wherever it was, with any certainty. Okay, so green lane's absolutely at the heart of it. Customs at the heart of it, but the other side, something that's at the heart of it, which has been mentioned, is certification. Right? One of the necessary evils of modern trade. Yeah? Necessary because it ensures quality, it ensures safety. An evil because it can be used to create barriers, it creates friction, it slows things down. Within the context of CEFTA, there needs to be a better way of doing this and ensuring that the work towards ensuring a recognition of certification is achieved. Because without that, it simply doesn't work. We know this from within the European Union context, where we started the European Union and thought, we reduce trade barriers, and then that's great. And then we discovered a second wave of difficulties, and then a third wave of difficulties as we chipped away into non-tariff measures, into issues of certification, all of which are impediments to the free trade that businesses want, that consumers want as well. So that's 2 elements. Third one, because I think we need one that also consumers can attach and see a direct benefit and understanding of. And I think on the digital side, where we've identified areas that work within CEFTA on postal services, on geo-blocking, could feed through quite comfortably into integration towards the EU single market at a later stage. And there are agreements there which are done, which need implementation, and where individuals will see the benefit of. Yeah? And then there's the communication dimension of individuals may see the benefit, but will they understand where the benefit came from? And do you create that virtuous circle of, we understand regional integration is good because it means this, therefore we want more of it, so you politicians deliver more, ensure that more of this can happen. And I think that's an important element there. Hopefully that's almost answered your question, and I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, David. Yes, coming from the Commission, that sometimes we receive a lot of answers, sometimes not enough. I thank you very much. That was actually an answer. And then now I turn again to Tanya. Yes, you did. And please, I would just like to note that we are past half, so I would like you all to be more precise. Looking at, knowing your experience, Tanya, I would like to, if possible, just precisely looking at the instruments. I mean, you have your views. We worked on this. We had our questions. Is it going to work, not work? Is it a good or a bad instrument? But obviously, this is a very good opportunity for the region, and we all recognize this. So having said that, looking at the instrument of the growth plan and the common regional market action plan, Can you please explain how these frameworks can help keep the accession process credible and dynamic? And what would you advise decision makers in CEFTA to do so that functional integration best serves the goal of EU accession? Tanya, the floor is yours.
Like $1 million question. Thank you very much, dear Trita, for asking such a not easy question, because if we know the answer to this, so basically how the political will, which has to be shown in the very implementation of the obligation arising from the common regional market, would benefit to the reforms which are needed for the accelerated or gradual joining into single market policies. That is the most important thing. I don't have an answer on this, sorry. Maybe if we sit all together and exchange different views, but I do know what are the things that additionally should be at least the point of discussion, especially in the European Union, but also in the Western Balkans, for helping us to reach the answer on this question. First and foremost, and that is something that we discussed from the very idea of the growth plan. Look, the idea of the growth plan was based on the fact that we need more convergence before membership. And that is something that we discuss. It's the goal to be more EU-like in terms of the GDP and economic development prior to the membership. Yet, for this, you need much more money. That it is the money that is given to us through the growth plan financial instrument. I mean, for this, we would need to go much deeper into the discussion, and I will take much of your time. Second very important thing is really to recognize and to use the work of the regional organizations. And I think that we all agree the work of CEFTA, RCC, transport community, energy community, but also others in the region. For instance, something that we completely neglected, and I know that Maya Hanjiska Trendofilova is there. Only 10 days ago, Montenegro has started work on the Single Market Academy, which means to create something which Sanya might take into consideration in terms of how to learn more, how to connect more business with the actual development, which is the necessary thing. We are not doing that because of the institutions of the central institutions and administration will benefit. It's actually for the companies to be part of the single market. So regional organization as a multiplier, as a data, I think, said of the developments and result. For instance, for ACA agreement, you need to have a good standing point in terms of recognizing the market operators which are needed, and this is the job of CEFTA and so many other things to go into those things. And the third thing, and I will stop, which is needed to be developed, is to connect the advancement in gradual or accelerated integration with the negotiation process. This is the link that is missing. And bottom line, we are still missing the response of the member states of the European Union regarding the gradual or accelerated integration. Yes, we do have their acceptance of the growth plan as a document, but how, what will be the way that they will recognize the advancement in the implementation of the growth plan, of all 4 pillars of the growth plan, in terms of the main goal, membership to the European Union, that is still unknown. So from me, those 3 main issues, which might help us to the $1 million, euro, whatever, answer to the question.
Thank you, Tanya. I do know the questions are difficult, but also we have to seek answers for the good of the region and our people. And also, please bear in mind the time, but Odeta, in a way, maybe just from your perspective, you would be answering, or my question is related to Sanya's, what she raised as concern. So how can CEFTA and the common regional market be used more strategically as a platform to prepare administrations, businesses, and societies for deeper participation in EU single market? So please, could you give an example or idea how institutions such as yours can actually play a role in shaping this and making these processes well understood, owned, but also well used by those stakeholders? Odeta, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I think we will all be giving partial answers to this and contribute to the conversation. I think what was discussed here previously with regard to the inclusion and engagement of the business, of the private sector, but also of other segments of society, societal actors, is very important. Now, we know that in this moment of acceleration, that is difficult, that is challenging, because the administration is moving ahead with a different speed, and the private sector has a different speed. And it's sometimes challenging to find that moment where governments, administration, and the other actors can actually involve in a meaningful conversation, not just both sides coming with different agendas and just sort of expressing their resentment. I think in the context of common regional market and CEFTA in particular, I think it was very relevant what was mentioned by David with regard to recognition of certificates, not just the facilitation of border crossing or in terms of customs procedure and so on, but in fact the recognition, certification, a process which we have started for many years. On the other side, I think we need to take a step even further back. We need to produce in order to trade. And I think this is a point which is very important in terms of standards, in terms of structuring our economy, in terms of prioritization. I'm not an economist, but this is an observation that I have gathered from conversations, from engaging with those who are in that domain. So it's very important for our countries to produce so that we become competitive before accession, and even more important when we become members. I think this is, again, it was mentioned here, we all have SA3 strategies. We don't have one in which we prioritize what we are producing, what can go better, be more competitive in a European market. So I think there are many answers to this. In terms of common regional market, how it can help, I think, again, it has helped a lot for the past decade in terms of capacities. But I must also say, and I think here we are all not just a community of experts, but also a community of values, people who believe in the region and region cooperation. So I can say this: if we had really complied to what we have committed regionally, half or at least 1/3 of our work in our bilateral accessions as well would have been done. Because going back again to the logic of staged accession, in the transport or energy, let's say, area, some of the reforms are also foreseen in the treaties. And some of staged also accession, some form of that is foreseen. So you comply with reforms, you move a step further, you have gradual access to more, to the market, to the regional and then European market and so on. So this is only to say not to resent what we haven't done, but this is to say that actually the capacities are there. We need to streamline, to capitalize on what we have done regional, so we can use that again in connection to what Tanya was saying in bilateral negotiations with the EU. The third thing I would mention is the third point with regard to the growth plan. I think notwithstanding the merits and the contribution and the innovative character of the growth plan, I think our ambition would be rather limited if we only use the growth plan for what we have put forward in terms of reforms and just the money that it grants to the countries. I know for some countries it's still challenging to keep up with the reforms they have committed to and to disburse the money, but I think even that is still limited. We need to use the growth plan, the funding that is given through growth plan, to build the capacities that will be the basis for the administrative foundation for the cohesion funds once we become members. I think this should be, we should work with that view and with that prospect in mind. Otherwise, what we are settling for is just a transitional, good enough measure that has been given to us for the first time. But it's not enough for us to act as members. And I think in that respect, again, staged accession and accession are in continuing the same process and not substitutes of each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Odeta. Maybe without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Zulfay, who you as a Sherpa, you're directly involved in preparing positions for the summits and steering the work on the Common Regional Market and the Growth Plan. So from that point of view, please briefly, could you explain what are the main political and practical conditions that need to be in place so that CEFTA deliverables actually are used as building blocks for closer participation in EU single market? And I would actually now, because our time is limited, directly want you to also give your final message after your answer to both decision makers in CEFTA and partners in the EU, what must happen in the next 2-3 years. So access before accession becomes a reality on the ground. So the floor is yours.
No, thank you. Well, CEFTA is a consensus-based organization, so it moves as fast as we all agree, and we tend to disagree on a lot of things. And that's not good for trade, you know. But the point I made earlier, I think, is we are working with EU rules, standards, and values as well, because that's where we're aspiring to join. So I think if we had some more common sense on this, whereby we see ourselves at the end of the road as members, you know, EU wants us to be members. We want to be members of EU. So why all these difficulties? You know, people within CEFTA know better, but there's years of negotiations now on conformity assessment and whether we should accept CE mark. But we all want to be members of EU. You know, CE mark comes by default. We should not be even wasting energy and time on that. We should just agree on that and invite more businesses. But apparently this is not a matter of common sense. And that is a lot of wasted time. But there is depoliticization. You know, we need to depoliticize a lot of areas that have to do with works of CEFTA. Perhaps RCC is more political, but CEFTA, they need to be engaged more into making this interoperability, which David said, work, because at the end, you know, we are not doing this for ourselves, you know, as representatives. You know, we are on behalf of the people, and it's the people who need to gain the benefits as end beneficiaries. Of course, EU has European Court of Justice. You know, if you don't comply, they intervene, and they make you comply. There is no such mechanism still in regional organizations, and the question is it too late for that now? If we are just so forward trying to join the EU, should we all create more regional organizations that at the end we just leave them when we enter the EU, all this energy and capacity? So I think that this phase of gradual integration, the EU should also consider our gradual integration into some enforcement mechanisms. And it was our very first idea as Kosovo that we said that we should enjoy some of the benefits of the European Court of Justice. So that is something that would ensure compliance. You know, it should not be debatable whether you implement a decision that you approved. You know, the decision that you approved must be implemented. If not, then there is a mechanism that deals with it, and not you to just condition it in every corner. So for the message for the EU is that this is a strategic choice of us. And we are voluntarily doing this. So we should be guided, but once this EU rules are in place, and this is the only area where we engage, that's why we had difficulties working with so many parallel initiatives, because we just need this EU rules integration. And once we are in this track, I think that the EU, now with these 4 pillars on the growth plan, should use them effectively with the end goal that to move us faster into the EU. And I think they have started to do that, but we should be much faster, because I think a lot of time is wasted.
Beton, that's very valuable. Sanja, you already answered the question that was planned for you. So you explained about the obstacles that you still face, the challenges. So I would immediately go to, if you could just briefly, if you had one concise message to send to decision makers in CEFTA and partners at the EU, what would that be in order to make this a reality on the ground? So please, just one message.
Thank you. Actually, I had a very specific matter I wanted to raise today. It's related, but I will try to be as concise as possible. There's a specific agreement under the World Trade Organization that I have come to know about quite recently, and it has become the greatest obstacle we may have in the future. It's called the Agreement on Government Procurement. And currently there are 49 members of this agreement who have signed, and you can imagine that most of us from Western Balkan have not. So currently only North Macedonia and Montenegro are the members. And what I would like to ask is there a possibility for CEFTA to support the rest of us? And here's why. It has been the agreement only aiming to those government procurements. So Europe has decided to try to use this as a barrier to protect the market from those who have not, let's say, passed through their specific standards of quality. Now, it is becoming an issue for not only government procurements, but now also utilities and companies like that are using this as some kind of barrier which will prevent us from participating and selling our goods to European Union. And there are 2 levels of being in this group. One is to actually be a member and sign the agreement. The other one is to be an observer country. I come from Bosnia. We are not a member, and we are also not an observer. So if there is a possibility for CEFTA to maybe address this issue, I believe that in a couple of years from now we will have a very big problem, and we will not be able to participate in European tenders and probably on the market as well. So I hope that I'm going to be the only one benefiting truly from this panel, but I'm really hoping that this will actually raise some thoughts about this problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanja. Of course, this is why those discussions are made, so we can raise questions and concerns. That, yet again, we will leave this for CEFTA to analyze and, of course, come back to you, and we take note of your question and concern raised. And because we really are, I have 3 more minutes, so on the final message, I would kindly ask Odeta, Tanya, David, really one sentence, what would that message be? How can we make this become a reality on the ground? Odeta?
Well, that's difficult in a few seconds. Just, well, maybe improve communication, communicate more, include more, involve more actors. This is very important. Many of the deliverables that we are seeing on the ground. Very few of us are aware that these are related to regional cooperation and what we have done in the context of CEFTA, in the context of other organizations. Secondly, integrate our public administration capacities as much as possible in the European administrative capacities. This is a call for David. I know Maya has done her part with RESPA. This is very important. As I said, the knowledge is there, the skills are there, people are few, are scarce. So those who are need to be as embedded as possible in policy processes, in European mechanisms. So this socialization process starts at the European level. I think we do have some good degree of socialization at the regional level. Now we need to upscale in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tanya, one strong sentence and message, and then David, and we have to finalize with yet another poll.
For me, this question is actually easier. The answer is more reforms in accordance with the European standards. This is the only thing, more alignment, better to say. This is the only thing that could make the idea of gradual accelerated integration palpable or tangible. But it's not only in terms of adopting the laws, the work of the administration is to produce the track record. Tangible results that people like, and completely agree, thank you very much, to join Sanya as the entrepreneur into this story. More sense that we are doing that both academically but also in terms of the public administration because of people like Sanya could participate more in the single market.
Thank you very much. Last but not the least, David.
I mean, listen more, decide faster, implement better.
That was very concise. Let's take our final poll while I thank the dear panelists. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. This was very valuable. And also, I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate Pramvera on her new task. And I do agree, I think Mate said that CEFTA is in good hands now. So thank you very much. You still have to vote. You can choose two. Just one sentence. Wow, well, I can only say that your answers confirm the direction of the travel, so thank you very much. And CEFTA, yes, take this with you. It's very important as a guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for the excellent and thought-provoking discussion. The poll results really were insightful. And now we are about to move on to a fascinating presentation that will take us beyond traditional digitalization and into the future of trade. The session is titled Beyond Digitalization, AI as a Catalyst for Transformative Trade. This inspirational presentation will explore how artificial intelligence is reshaping our trade systems from optimizing custom procedures to supporting evidence-based policymaking. It will highlight how AI can help CEFTA move towards smarter, data-driven decision-making for more resilient and sustainable markets. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Mark Vasic, Head of International Regulatory Affairs, Deutsche Telekom, to the stage.
Thank you for this great invitation. I just received the hint, Mark, please try to be serious. At least start serious. And so therefore, dear Excellencies, so we are now in Kosovo. The mic. Let's use the mic. Okay. So first of all, Mirdita, dobar dan, dobar den. Bonjour. I don't know, did I miss some of the languages from CEFTA region? Is there someone from Moldova there, from Chisinau? Was it right? Pardon? Okay, good. So next time when I get invited, so I will try then to be correct in the pronunciation. So thank you, Excellencies, dear colleagues, dear policymakers, dear friends, dear Director. Also from my side, congratulations for the new, Pranvera, for the new role. You know, it's like coming back to this room. And it was exactly this room. And I would like to tell you a little bit the story, and thank you for the invitation, by the way, because exactly 3 years ago, we had here a digital summit in Pristina. Maya will know it. All the other familiar faces, Pranvera, you know it also. And part of these discussions we had on this panel, on this stage, in this room, as well as in the other room, were also about how digitization can help to overcome barriers, to accelerate, you know, common regional collaboration as well as trade. And I looked at my notes because, you know, I was like, during my preparation to this, because, you know, they told me, look, try to be inspirational. I looked in my notes, and we had there, 3 years ago, we had 3 observational conclusions. The first one was, digitization will have a huge or a significant or substantial impact on cross-border trade in this region. It will have also significant direct and indirect effects on trade, but on all other also aspects of our societies, of our countries, of our economies, or whatever in this region. The second point was to say, okay, 10% more investment in digitization means will also lift the GDP by 1.7%. Overall in this region. That was somehow result and reflection of University of Graz, of Vienna Institute for International Economic Studies, as well as the Ekonomski Institute of University of Zagreb. So that was the second point. And the third point was digitization, and that it means then also, and I will comment later to it because I do not want to bother you with old stories about digitization, but digitization is somehow a transformative tool for trade, but only when supported by infrastructure, by regulation, as well as by people. So then, therefore, it's I'm very, very happy to be here and to see that also, you know, after 3 years, there were some good results and some very good approaches, and also the discussion we had beforehand was, you know, a part of these things, and also your survey shows that we are somehow on track. Perhaps it could be a little bit accelerated and faster, so therefore let's see how AI could help. So my name is Mark Vasic, I'm from Deutsche Telekom, working in Germany, and representing an amazing company which is doing a lot in this region because we are one of the biggest investors in infrastructure in this region. As usually in economy it is, we are more hands-on. We are not talking, don't make some blah, blah, and let's be a little bit more concrete. So therefore, happy to be here and to discuss this with you. So we are talking about digitization and artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, wow, it's amazing. I think a couple of guys here in the room already used ChatGPT, Perplexity, and all the other tools. And it's amazing that it could help. It could help, really. but it needs also time, and it needs also efforts from all sides, from policymakers, from institutions, as well as from industry, and also from people, to be ready and to use all the chances artificial intelligence is giving to us. So when we are talking about trade and how AI could help, only one thing, the reduction of administrative proceedings and paperwork, that's one of the big things. You will also discuss today also about paperless trade and this kind of stuff. This is the right way. And artificial intelligence will help, to automate proceedings, to even translate documents, as well as, the recognition of documents. And that is something where indeed, these are only buzzwords, but these buzzwords are very, very crucial for this. It will help also to track goods. For example, if Komodita here from Kosovo is, sending over their products to Brussels because there are some customers who would like to use Komodita goods, or in Germany, they are also very good advised if they know where the things are, where the products are on the road, whether they are still on the border somewhere in the region or already somewhere in European Union on the highways. So therefore tracking of goods is also good, and it also helps and facilitate, trade. And it helps also to reduce delays due to custom control. I saw there are some colleagues from customs here. You're from Kosovo, right? From Kosovo Customs. Let's talk later. I have there one request. This kind of customs controls also, it's now faster than years before, but it will also take time. And these are burdens for industry as well as for manufacturers. And I'm very confident that digitization as well as artificial intelligence will help to remove it. But one thing is, and that's very good for the policymakers here in the room, you have very reliable and very good partners here. With this digital infrastructure and ecosystem in Europe, and as well as in the region, you have very good partners who could help you to remove the burdens or to ease proceedings, and also to use AI and to use the effects. So for my side, it is how, AI will ease it, will accelerate it, but it only works if we deal with the challenges, and let's come to the challenges. I'm representing a company who is investing in infrastructure in some of the countries here in the region, and for some of the investors, it's important to do their job, to invest in infrastructure, mobile infrastructure, fiber infrastructure, whatever infrastructure, but it needs to be, reliable. It should be also resilient infrastructure. But not only, when we are talking about connectivity, we are not only talking about connectivity. When we are talking about the artificial intelligence, we are also talking about data center. You could imagine, you could not imagine, without data center, no artificial intelligence will work. You need this data center. Establishing a data center in this region, it is a challenge. It's a challenge, because you need predictable framework conditions, because we are investing then millions in data center. Double, three-digit data center, million euros investments are required if you want to build up an artificial intelligence data center. We just concluded a contract with one of the producers of chips needed for a data center, for an artificial data center. We're partnering up with NVIDIA, which is, by the way, the most innovative and the most important supplier of chips, graphic processing units you need to have, multitasking able processors in these data centers. and you need tons of this kind of processing units. One example, we are now committed to build a data center in Germany with NVIDIA together, where our plan is, to build up a data center with 10,000 GPUs. So one of these chips, you can say, okay, in all of my washing machine or in my computer or in my handheld, there are a lot of different chips, but not this kind of chips. The latest version of NVIDIA chips costs around 50,000 euro, one chip, one semiconductor. You need for this, you need this money, and you need for a data center at least 10,000 of these chips. So it's a huge amount. So therefore, and as an investor, you need also predictability, and you need also very fast approvals. Because you know how fast this IT and digitization landscape is. You will look back and you see, okay, there are new operators behind you. There are new innovation coming up, and it's really a very accelerated process. You cannot imagine, if you are now deciding to invest in a data center, you have to do it then now and not to wait 1 or 2 years, because then it will be outdated. And therefore, we need also from the policymakers for this kind of things, very fast approvals. Very fast processes, and also predictability. You need also, also safety for your investment. That's one crucial point. In Europe, we are currently discussing about, or the plan of the European Commission is to establish, I think, something around 5 gigafactories, AI gigafactories. I don't know, is there someone who could give me an estimate, who could guess how many GPUs will be in this kind of gigafactories? Give me a number. Factory, AI data center, 10,000. Gigafactory? Pardon? Okay, that was too optimistic. So we are talking about 100,000 of these NVIDIA chips you need for this. 100,000 chips, one chip or one processor for 50,000 euros. So it's a huge amount. So therefore, European Commission is trying to have an initiative, to partner up with investors, credible investors from all over Europe, as well as to use public money then also to help them. I don't know really the share, but a lot of companies, try to be part of the game, and I think the European Commission get more than 70 or something like that application for this kind of exercise, for this journey. But that's needed, if we do not want to lose track on artificial intelligence, and if we would like to use the potential for artificial intelligence also for this region, we need these infrastructures in Europe. We need it, I don't know whether we need it here in the region. That would be great for sure, from the investment money and from the size. But let's see, important is really that we have this kind of things nearby, and that we have then also a regulation which then also allows it. So predictability I mentioned as a precondition. I mentioned also the speeding up the process. But there is also another topic. When you're talking about, at this very moment, from a perspective, and I think Tanya mentioned the geopolitical dimension, if we are also considering the discussion we have to talk also between friends. We have also to talk a little bit about with whom we are doing it, from where this technology comes from, because all over the world there are very good suppliers of this kind of technology you need in data centers. But also we have to think a little bit about on which standards we are saving our data. When we are talking about trade, when we are talking about products, when we are talking about other administrative things in the cloud, in a data center, then we have also to consider where to store the data. It's not enough to say, okay, we bought Amazon Web Service web space, or we have some Microsoft Azure or something else space where we can save the data, it's safe, whatever. You have to think a little bit about where should the data take place. On the other side, we have also to consider a regional approach, because, you know, thinking about rules for this data center, for AI, and so on, it doesn't make sense to have it only country by country approach. You need a regional approach, but that means then also you have to enable, dear government representatives, you have also to enable cross-border flow of data. And when we are talking about the European Union on the horizon, or membership, accession to the European Union, we have to enable also the data flow between this region and European Union. And you can't imagine, if you're supplying infrastructure here in the region, what does it mean if you want to deliver data out of the country, in some of the countries? So it's really a messy discussion, and that is something we have to take care. You know, we have to think a little bit about what is really, how regulation can help, you know, then also to pave the way and to pave the ground for, or pave the way for data center, for AI, for the use of the AI. And there is another point, which is also very, very important when we are talking about data center, is the energy consumption. Because these data centers, without electricity, there will be no computer running. So no data center. And that's a little bit tricky thing. You know, we have currently the situation, a tricky situation with the electricity. We have also this, and we have a very big point, and that's the amount we are spending for electricity. So the energy prices, you know, they are now a little bit, you know, going back, but you know, 2 years ago, the prices were, you know, hilarious high. And that was really a very challenging situation for all of the suppliers of digital services in this region as well as in Europe. It's a European debate, and we have to think a little bit about that this will also affect this region, but that's also one of the preconditions we have to take care. And another point is, and that's really important, and that's it's now when we are talking here also with between us, because, you know, governments needs also to use this stuff. When we are using and producing digital services and artificial intelligence here in the region, the government should also consider to use this in their work. So that means when, you know, customs, or when public administration is using services, digital services for or considering digital services for public, you should also consider whether you could also integrate artificial intelligence. A couple of governments are doing it, and we are helping them. Sometimes we are suppliers, sometimes we are now partners in crime. We had a hackathon 2 months ago in Skopje with youngsters, you know, with young professionals as well as students from Skopje, and they worked on some idea creation, how the Macedonian government can use artificial intelligence in their public websites, to share information to the people, to the public, as well as to use artificial intelligence in their all-day life of the administration. And that was good. You know, there are a lot of different ideas, and I think they're on a very good track. The same is also we did in Greece. The Greek government is really investing a lot in this kind of services for their customers, and they are somehow, I will not say leader of the pack, but on European level, they're really, you know, setting the pace, and they're giving the pace, and that's really good. And that is something, so therefore, consider also from a government perspective that you should not ignore artificial intelligence. Use it also for your services to the public, and also consider to use this kind of services to facilitate customs process, to facilitate border control or whatever things, also trade approvals. You know, I had a story, we are building this kind of, for our own purposes, some mobile base stations. So in case of a crisis, we had a couple of crises in Germany in a couple last years, floods and so on, where we need to speed up, you know, the deployment of infrastructure. You know, we had some typical standardized containers with, you know, an antenna with a lot of IT inside. we try to bring this thing out of the country, you know, to give it to our colleagues in, I think in Montenegro was the idea. You could not imagine, it was not literally not possible because, you know, we need the approval of all of the governments, and then we are crossing, we need not only the approval from the German authorities because it could be dual use. We need also the approval of, for sure, the Montenegrin government. We need the approval of all the countries we are driving through because, you know, it could be some security thing, and, you know, we have to ensure that also the frequencies are right because in some, and so on and so on, this kind of stuff. So therefore, we have to think a little bit about how we can use it in a very proper way. I don't know whether I'm somehow good in time, right? 5 minutes, okay. So that's a little bit the tricky thing. And then there is one point I forgot already to tell you, and that is, good to take notes. And it's about people. I don't know, when you're talking, I had the challenge, you know, and I think if you are also considering or using artificial intelligence, it's to see how it works, you know, how easy it works, but also to see how fast it is. I don't know, when you are writing something to your manager or to the minister, you know, here are a couple of guys working for the ministers. If you're writing a memo for your minister, it will not take any more half a day. It will take you 5 minutes to write it. Yeah, for sure, you have to, you know, spell check and this kind of stuff, but okay, it will work. And also, your minister will be able not to ask you for a memo. He will look, he will also, you know, use Perplexity and say, write me a memo based on our data we have, or a Copilot based on all the data we have on our SharePoint. Give me a summary of the current developments on this topic. 5 minutes. It will not take longer. But it creates also fear, and therefore, for the public administration, we have also to think a little bit about, you know, that we have to encourage our colleagues and our people and our team colleagues to use AI. But in a spin, you know, we had a discussion 2 months ago also on a digital summit we had in Skopje on an AI panel where someone will say, oh, you know, we are using AI to replace people. I was speechless there, and you know, those who knows me know that there are no really moments where I'm speechless, but that was really shocked me, because we should think a little bit about how we can AI not to reduce people, but to use it to increase productivity. If, you know, and we all know in public administration and in big companies, it's the same with me, you're lagging every time behind. You know, you have a lot of tasks, you have to write and to read a lot of papers, and so on. You have to approve a lot of documents. You should use artificial intelligence to facilitate the process, to make work easier and not to reduce people. And that is the big fear, and that means also we have to encourage our colleagues to work with this technology. It's a tool, and also we have to upskill them, give them a little bit hints, and that is, you know, you can do very easily to, you know, learn prompting. You know, these young guys working in an administration, they all work with artificial intelligence at home, so, and on their phone. Come on, be realistic. So use it, you know, and learn from them, and also learn your teams about how to prompt and how to use it in your professional way, and that would be good, and that would be for us as economy or industry very good if, you know, public administration use this artificial intelligence and these new tools then to facilitate the process, to speed up, to, you know, to shorten periods of approvals. And if you consider to push investment in your country and in this region, we have then to talk about the preconditions, you know, where should be the data located, enable cross-border things, and enable investment conditions which really give the potential investors the opportunity to invest in these very expensive journeys, and use artificial intelligence and choose the right partners. So I think that we're now 5 minutes. Thank you for your time, and I hope it was not so boring.
Thank you, Mr. Vasic, for that truly visionary presentation. It's clear that AI has an immense potential to transform our work here in CEFTA. We will now break for lunch. Please be back in your seats in 1 hour at 14, as we have a panel on trade facilitation coming next.